So today I want to start off talking a little bit about the Uberization of society, something that I've seen coming slowly but surely, year after year, and something as an entrepreneur that gets me damn excited about. Okay, so I've been spending lots and lots of time thinking about what can I Uberize, and then I started to do a lot of research online, and then we have a study that was in Time magazine that I copied for everybody, that you'll have the time. How many of you have actually worked in the Uber economy? Anybody ever drive for Uber here? Anybody ever work as, you did?
I didn't drive, I rode.
Right, okay, you used Uber, okay, for sure. What other on-demand type of services do you think could work just as well as Uber? Think about it. Go ahead, Judy.
That one called Truck Buddy, I believe. And it's like if you want to move, you just contact somebody. Or basically you go into the application and put what you're trying to move, and
Right.
it'll come out with the perfect
Sure.
Time for your class.
2 o'clock. Great, thanks a lot.
and it'll come out with a driver to accommodation.
What else you think would do good? How many of you have the Uber app on your phone, by the way? Okay, almost the whole class. So, for those of you who do not have Uber, I'll explain a little bit how it works and why it's so successful. Uber is an application that uses your location and your GPS to know exactly where you are. So when you need to get a car or a ride, you simply click the application and the driver then sends you a text and a picture of them so you know who they are, all through the app, and everything's paid for through the application. You don't need cash, you don't need to pull out your credit card, it's all done right there on the spot. You get out of the car, you're $30 poorer, the driver's made a few bucks, and everybody's happy. Okay, what other types of services do you think could do well like Uber?
I mean, it's already in place, but I think it's going to just grow huge. Is Amazon Prime Now, where you can get something within 2 hours. It's going to become, for
It's
sure.
certainly going to be a big thing, no doubt. I mean, instant deliveries is going to be big. Yeah.
What about like hospital services?
Perfect. That's like on top of my list. I happened to look a little bit today. I have my little cheat sheet, but I'm hot on this idea. I'm waiting for one of my partners in this room to come up with something great for me to invest in. Okay, what other things? Home health aides. I was down in Florida, I had a little medical issue with a family member, and I needed to get an aide. I needed 24-hour service, and I was freaking. Called the agencies, and the agencies could not provide them. They couldn't guarantee that they spoke Spanish or English or Russian. I mean, it was back and forth. I would have loved to have an app so that I knew that a home health aide is right there, that I could check her credentials, see her vetting, check out the comments on the site, and then hire them right there on the spot. What else?
Fish Grubhub? Grubhub?
Grubhub, right. Well, certainly Grubhub is another great example. Food delivery on demand.
If something happened to me in the car outside the city, I just need to press a button or
Yes,
to do it on my phone.
yes. Good.
I think babysitters or tutors.
Beautiful, perfect. Couldn't be happy with that answer.
I think laundry would be great.
Wonderful. On demand, come to your place, laundry, here's the price, pick up when it's going to be done, back. Perfect idea.
Shipping?
Shipping, that's your bailiwick right there. Certainly shipping. Come there.
You know, on my way here I saw a van, and I think it's like a commercial dish cleaner, so if you have a restaurant, they go and they clean it for you.
I think it's possible. I think it's possible.
Loans.
Loans. Okay, loans on demand kind of thing. Okay, certainly very, very possible. We're living in an Uber society, whether we want to acknowledge that or not. And the people and the great entrepreneurs who exploit that are going to make a lot of money, an awful lot of money. Plumbers on demand. I want to be able to go right to my app and get a plumber, know the price, read the comments, have them come over in an hour, fix my toilet. I don't want to pay them anything. The credit card is taking care of
There's
it.
a plumber.
Right. Okay. Electricians, painters. Okay. There's going to be more of them and multiple of them. I'm just trying to get your mind moving to what businesses you want to be in. Okay, Uber. How many Uber cars do you think Uber, the company, actually own themselves?
Zero.
Anybody else say zero? Just by a show of hands, how many you think the answer is zero? You would be correct. Uber is a technology company. They know where you are, they do the billing, they send the commission to the driver, and they are done.
Doesn't Uber help finance cars though?
They do. They help, and one of our guest lecturer here tonight will talk to you about his experiences about loaning money to this ever-growing Uber Lyft industry later today. CPAs, accountants on demand. I want an accountant to do my taxes. I want him close by. I want to hit him up right now, see if he can come over, do my taxes, prearranged price. Same thing maybe with a lawyer. Unless I have a recommendation for a lawyer, I want the guy to come right over right now. Massage therapist, bring your table, bring everything, no cash, all done, I'm finished. What have I left out? A million other things? At least get your mind starting to work like that. Stylist coming to the home, manicure, pedicure, hairstylist, okay? Extension businesses, all the things that we've been talking about this semester.
Dates. Going on a date, just press a button.
I guess Tinder and things like that certainly could be.
No. I mean, like, go, like you press a button and Uber is automatically called for you and a reservation is automatically made and you just go.
Oh, okay. Yeah, why not?
Mechanics on demand.
I like that one.
Extremely helpful.
I like it. I
Show
like
me the
that.
tools and say, all right, well, what sound are you hearing?
Or car detailing and washing?
Car detailing and washing. You want it just there on the second. Again, a lot of these things have not been done yet. You'd be shocked. You go online and you see this and you're like, how could this not be done yet?
Why not just everything? Like have people post what they want and need, and have people have their accounts with ratings on them, and if they see your job, they can fulfill it.
I think that's where it's all going. I think somebody who's going to coordinate and connect the dots is going to make that happen.
Isn't that kind of like a modified version of what's Angie's List?
A little bit. I think it's no surprise that Barry Dilla, who owns Tinder and all these other companies, bought Angie's List recently, so he's going to turn it into some sort of an app. Locksmiths. How many of you have ever gotten locked out of your house or your car? Okay? Perfect. App, guy's right there, comes to your house. Cleaning services. Who doesn't need a cleaning service to come to your house? So we're living in an Uber society where people are not owning things anymore. It's going to shake up the infrastructure unlike anything you have ever seen before. People are not owning cars. It's cheaper to share them. Apartments, houses, much cheaper to go on Airbnb and rent the place. If you don't like that area, you're not committed, you didn't take a long-term lease or mortgage, you could just move somewhere else. Shaking up the hotel industry in a big way, in a massive way, Airbnb. It's taken the whole thing and turned it on its head. They don't know how to deal with it. Neither do the taxi industry. They completely lost. A year ago, a medallion for taxi cost over $1 million. How about if you're that poor soul that spent your whole life savings, borrowed money from family, bought this medallion for $1 million, and then all of a sudden Uber comes on board? Pretty screwed, huh? I mean, there goes your medallion, your cab, and everything is worth half that it is. Okay, so you take a chance, you get a chance, read this article. It's about the Uberization of everything that we're doing. And as the semester goes on, I want to see some more ideas, because it's an area I'm very hot on. Tutors, very hot on that business. Okay, one of the students in a semester a couple of years ago came up with a tutoring app where you take a picture of the question, text back to him, he then reroutes it to his tutors in China or in India. Luckily, math is a universal language. It doesn't matter what you speak. Math is math. And when it comes back to you, it's step by step how it gets done. It's too slow to cheat on a test, but just enough that if you can't afford $100 an hour for a tutor, this is a great application. Okay, and very easy to do. And one of the students from the program, hot on that idea. So you're on the right track with that. Okay. This week, we're going to take a look at the Young Entrepreneur Series, The Idea. What is the idea? Most of you are thinking of what your idea is that you're going to pitch me during this semester and to your fellow classmates. And we're going to watch now a little bit about the idea from the Young Entrepreneur Series. Okay, maybe we get his lights there. Thanks. Okay, so today we're going to hear from a couple of students on their business ideas. And so without any further ado, let's hear it for Stephen Nelson.
Today I'll explain to you guys about my current venture. It's called Office Correct. It's a website, officecorrect.com. It's currently live. It went live about a month ago. We are a heavy-duty office equipment retailer. Not your typical Staples, not your typical Office Depot, Office Max. You can't go to Office Max and buy a shredder that can, well, for comparison's sake, shred CDs in quantities of 1,000 CDs every 5-10 minutes. We cater to larger companies. The company that we have partnered with is All Shredding and All Brand Incorporated in Manhattan. They put me in contact with major manufacturers such as Martin Yale, Intimus, Fellows. Fellows does sell smaller shredders and office equipment, but we deal with the larger side. And we're a fully autonomous company where we have no inventory, we have no overhead, for lack of a better term, because in my mind, I don't have a office space, I don't have anything but a website and an idea. Currently, the goal for the site is to put 10 to 15,000 products onto the website by the end of this year. The employees that we have are overseas, which to me is the best investment I've ever made. The reason for this is because, the reason I came up with this idea is because my father works in one of the companies that I partnered with. And his business is very brick and mortar, and his boss is not very interested in modernizing and going online, and neither is anybody that's their competition. They're very state-based, so they work in New York State, they have friends that work in Jersey. When they get clients in Jersey, they just pass them over and back and forth. I decided to just bridge the gap in between everything. Offer sales, service, equipment, across the board, across the United States. Haven't thought about going international yet because that involves very different taxes and whatnot. But I've been in contact with multiple companies and they already offer me service agreements and prices that I can offer people. And the reason is because of the e-commerce industry. The e-commerce industry, I'll just read it off to you, is at over $31 billion estimated 2016. And the market cap is nowhere near reached nowadays, and that is the reason for this company. What in my mind is it that I'm going to do in order to develop the business? Well, step one was to hire aides. The employees are based out of the Philippines because they have an English education. They help enter data. I basically go out and contact the manufacturers, talk to them on a very personal basis nowadays. From there, once the site is fully developed, go into Google AdWords, pay-per-click advertising, million views advertising, as well as cost per acquisition, as well as commission-based sales. So if someone can bring in a large sale, by all means. If everybody wins, that's a great thing. And that is my idea, and this is the site.
I've got a couple of questions for Steve.
On average, how long would it take for a product to ship out?
So, the beauty of that is that I have no inventory. So I don't have to worry about the product shipping out. As soon as I get the sale, it is sent to the manufacturer within the day. Some products are white labeled, which do take a little more, which means that I get to put my company's name on them. Some are not, depends on the manufacturer, but it'll be shipped out. Also, because the machines are so big, like the most expensive machine that we sell is right under $1 million. Yeah, but it's the size of a warehouse. It's a shredder that shreds thousands of tons a day. Depending on the machine, it can take a couple of months to a day.
Do you have any competitors? And if you do, how do you differentiate yourself?
So the current competitor is actually very small. They're based out of New York. They're called Shoplit.com. They don't really focus on as big equipment as I do. I focus on much larger. They're a bigger direct competitor with Staples. They still sell the typical inks and all of that, and I'm not really focusing on that yet. I'd rather build the brand on office equipment and then do cross sales to already existing clients on, let's say, on supplies for the machines.
Is this all sales or is there any rentals as well?
So we're working with a financing company to determine if we can lease out machines. I already do lease machines. We lease Canon copiers with another company that we partner with, All Nations Office Equipment, which is located in Queens. We lease out copy machines, but that's on a it's not online. It's not broadcasted online. It's more they call me and they say, we're interested in a copy machine, but we want to lease it, a service contract, and then I work out that over the phone.
Right, so you're a bit like Amazon with a specialty.
Yeah.
In exactly what you're doing.
And the reason is that Amazon just doesn't have this. Yeah,
Sure.
they're working on the business-to-business aspect,
Right.
but they're nowhere near it.
Very good, spectacular. I got one more question, guys.
What's stopping the consumer from just going directly to the manufacturer?
You can't. The manufacturers don't sell to consumers. They have to sell through a retailer, through an authorized retailer. And that's where I bridge the gap.
Okay, very good. Thanks a lot, Steve. Right, next we're going to hear from Tiffany. Now, let's hear it for Tiffany.
Alright, so my name is Tiffany. I'm a senior here at Brooklyn, and I just turned 22, so I know I'm young, but I'm abundantly wise. Alright, I'm a little nervous, so if you guys can do this exercise with me. Alright, feel free to close your eyes, relax, breathe in, hold it, exhale. Alright, one more time. Breathe in, fill up your lungs. Now release the tension. Alright, thank you. Alright, so I believe that we are all creators and we create the life that we want and who we want to be. So why not follow your dream? Why not work for yourself? Why not live out your passion? I know you've been here for 7 years, Ted, but this year I so manifested this. We all did, and that's how we got here. As an entrepreneur, you need to be mentally healthy. How many times are we going to be on the verge of giving up on your great idea because of self-doubt, fear, anxiety? Or when you're surrounded by negative energy and nobody else sees your potential but yourself. Alright. I'm a spiritual guru and meditation is my passion. For years, I've been conducting research on my interests, and it's mostly mental health and how to continuously stay positive. I love reading. My favorite place is Barnes & Noble in the section Living Your Best Life. My favorite books are like spiritual, business, self-help, psychology. And I've come to the conclusion that the best way to stay mentally healthy is by meditating. When we meditate, we focus on ourselves. How often do we forget to do that? Meditation, of course, has many benefits, but the best thing it can do for you is activate those gray areas in our brain. It's hard to make a habit of meditating, but it's definitely worth it to get out of our habitual thinking and our mindset and gain perspective from time to time. Being a city girl and living in New York City, I easily get caught up in the fast-paced lifestyle. I catch myself speed walking for no reason, so I think it's important to take the time to relax and just center yourself. There's many forms of meditation and uses, like controlling your anxiety, lucid dreaming, finding your spirit guide. Now you should listen to my meditation because I incorporate all the knowledge that I gained over the years and combine it with the practice of deep breathing, hypnosis, positive affirmations, chanting mantras, visualizations, and relaxing tools. This is a successful business because anybody can do it and there's definitely a need for it. I plan to make CDs, a podcast, an app, and one thing I really want to do is open a retreat center. They'll be luxurious and it'll contain a spa, a sauna, a yoga studio, and definitely meditation every morning, and different workshops and like therapy sessions, and it'll promote peace and clarity. Now remember, life is what you make it, and the universe, the divine, your higher self is here to help you.
How about a couple of questions for Stephanie? Come on, someone has some question. How are we gonna make some money out of this?
With CDs, like selling it, an app you can purchase.
Okay.
Yeah.
How about a yoga app where a yoga instructor actually comes to your home on demand? I would think that probably could do quite well.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Good luck with that, Stephanie. Thank you. Okay, so our first guest speaker of the year is a young fellow that I met about 3 years ago. He impressed me so much with his business acumen, not only about lending and money and hedge funds and alternative methods to make money other than the stock market. I became not only an investor in his company, but I became a customer as well, which shows a lot. So without any further ado, I'd like to introduce you to Michael Weisz from Yale Street.
Okay, hi everybody. I'm just going to start by saying thank you to Ted. Really appreciate the opportunity to be here. More importantly, like he said, he's become an investor and a customer in the business. So I think that speaks to his support and to the way that he's believed in me and my partners and our company and our product that we've built. It's also a bit of a humbling experience, to say the least. The last time I was here was probably in one of these rooms in the summer class doing business law and ethics. So it's nice to be back. I'll give you a little bit of an outline of some of the ideas and thoughts that I thought about could be interesting to talk about today, and I'll let you guys tell me if there's anything else that interests you that you want me to cover. And I want it to be interactive, so feel free to raise your hand or interrupt at any time and ask any questions along the way. I'll start by telling you a little bit about my story. Then we'll talk about how do you guys define what an entrepreneur is and why does it interest you. Talk a little bit about introspection, so along the lines of Tiffany, getting to know yourself and understanding what your strengths and weaknesses are and how to decide if you want to be an entrepreneur and where you could be and how to be successful. What does it mean, or what does it take to build a successful business? What's the good, the bad, and the ugly about being an entrepreneur? Some of the things people don't tell you. A couple of personal rules and lessons that I've learned along the way. And I think that's kind of my idea of what we could talk about today. Anything in particular that you guys want me to cover that I didn't? Okay. So before we start, who likes football? Anybody? Really? Nobody? Alright, show you something cool anyway. It's not out yet. It's one of the first to see it. Maybe not.
Steve, maybe you could help them. I think we need to have Chrome up there. I'm not sure
Yeah,
what the browser is, but they got a lot of fun.
They got it. It's Internet Explorer. Not sure what that is anymore. So for those of you that don't know, Ray Lewis is one of the most well-known football players in the NFL. I think he was in the game for 17 years. I met Ray September, I think it was, October, by accident with 4 or 5 people. He took a liking to Yield Street. He started investing in it. Next thing I knew, 9 days later, he shot a commercial, didn't charge a penny because he believes in the dream and wants to be a part of the success. So take a look at this. It's kind of cool, and then we'll get into it.
Ray Lewis, Super Bowl MVP, started here. For 17 years, Ray worked hard, planned right, and played smart, yielding one of the best careers in NFL history.
Everything I do is a long-term plan. My work in the NFL, my 17 years in the game.
Today, Ray's next move is making a difference in the communities, focusing on his family while securing their future.
Yield Street was founded so people like you can invest in asset-based loans that you may otherwise never have access to. Yield Street empowers you
to make informed investment decisions. Post-NFL career, I'm just like everyone else. I'm focused on my career, focused on being a father, and I'm focused on my financial stability. All of the things that are important in life.
What's your next move? Getting started on Yield Street is easy. Pick an investment and build a portfolio.
You can invest in the ride-sharing market.
You can invest in assets secured by real estate.
With Yield Street, you can invest as low as $5,000. What's your next move?
Yield Street. Invest better, smarter, together. Visit yieldstreet.com today and get started.
So we'll tell you more about Yield Street as we get along. I thought that was a cool video. So my story is it's kind of interesting, I guess. I grew up not too far away. I grew up in Long Island in 5 towns. My parents were both children of Holocaust survivors. My father was as much of an entrepreneur as you could get. He was a businessman through the ups and downs. He always looked at, he was in the diamond industry, always tried to figure out where there was a mismatch in the market and how he could accomplish building a successful business by meeting those needs, similar to what most entrepreneurs identify. He ultimately built a business that was both US and abroad. Similar to what Ted said, there's Uberization going on in every business. It happened in that business as well, and you have to continue to learn to adapt. I grew up in a nice home, good family, good community. My parents were amazing people. We had what we needed, but I think that I got that burn and that desire and that hustle from watching my father, from watching him go to work at 5 o'clock in the morning, coming home at 8 o'clock at night. That was something that I think was ingrained in me from the start. My first business was probably in like 6th grade. I had a next door neighbor who was a little younger than me, so the bus came to pick him up later. So I'd run around the corner, pick up bagels, get the breakfast special for $1.99, sell it for $4.50, and get on the younger kid's bus. It worked for about 2 years until my parents realized that I never made it to the first class. Second business I got suspended for. It's a little more exciting. When I was in 8th grade, the principal came into school and said, we're getting new lockers. So we had these old school lockers that they didn't even open, you can imagine. And they were getting these nice floor to ceiling lockers. And they were charging, I don't remember what it was, like $150 a locker. But they had this deal that if you had younger brothers in the school, then you can keep the lockers throughout the family. But I was the only boy in my family in school, so I felt like I was getting ripped off. And there was a number of guys who felt the same way. And obviously you don't want to be the guy without the locker when everyone else has a locker. So I came up with an idea where I was going to buy 3 or 4 of these lockers and then get the locker dividers and sublet the space to all the guys who didn't have younger siblings. It went so well that we ended up buying like 6 of them until I got suspended because the school couldn't sell any lockers because nobody needed the whole locker, they just wanted a portion of the locker. So I guess there's always some innate business sense that I had. My first real job was a summer job. I was working for a guy named Harvey Heino on, I think it was Q and Nostrand, just around here. He was in the real estate sales business. He had a Coldwell Banker franchise. He came from nothing. He built up a tremendous operation, and he gave me a shot. And he said I can come work there. I worked there. My whole quote brilliant idea was I was going to make PowerPoints, and that's how I was going to present the homes. And nobody was doing it then. It turned out people really liked it, and before I even got my license, I was able to close some deals, which was exciting. Next summer, I run back and I say, "Hey, Harvey, can I have a job?" He says, "No, you can't work it." So I was pretty surprised because I thought I did okay for my age at the time. And last summer, he said, "No, I think that you have the ability to do something bigger and better. I'm going to make some introductions for you." That landed me my next job, which was working for a large real estate finance brokerage firm, actually based in Brooklyn at the time on M and Coney. And it was the mortgage brokerage business. I spent the first 6 months probably making 100 phone calls a day. I didn't make $1 for the first 6 months. And I was there every day at 7:30 and I drove in. I wanted to go to school, but I also wanted to work. So I ended up going to school at Turo College because they had a night program from 6 to 10. So I can get to the office at 7 and leave at 5:45, grab a quick bite, and be in class by 6, finish at 10 or 10:30. Went back to the office, did a half hour, 45 minutes of work because it was right there, and then went home. After that, I got an opportunity in 2009, really right at the end of 2008. I had finally started to do well in business, and all of a sudden the banks started falling by the wayside. There was nothing you could do. You could work as hard as you want, and if the banks were out, they were out. So the straw that broke the camel's back for me, and Ted knows the story, is I had a business model which was you always want to go for that big deal. The problem was if the big deal fails, you didn't make any money. So you got to go for a bifurcated plan, which is focus on the bread and butter, on the smaller deals that you can keep closing and earn a little bit of money, and always have a couple of the bigger deals in the back end. If they work, it's great. You get a big check. If they don't, then at least you still have your bread and butter coming in. You can't put all your eggs in one basket. So at the time, I had a very large deal. It was a $150 million deal across 13 properties across the state of Tennessee. It was my first time in Tennessee. Somebody actually innocently asked me when they saw my yarmulke, "I thought you had horns," which I thought was pretty funny. But 5 days from closing, after 6 months and probably $250,000 or more in due diligence fees paid by the borrower, UBS sends an email that says, "Not sure how to tell you this, but real estate lending is shut down indefinitely." It's shortly after Lehman crashed, and the market is just going totally bananas. And that was it. There was nothing to talk about. The deal was over. 6-figure commission out the door. Nothing happens. I got an opportunity to work at a hedge fund. One of the founders of the fund saw me within that day or two at a charity event, and we started talking, and he said, "Why don't you come in to my office next week?" I come to the office. He says, "I focus on something called asset-based lending, which means I make loans where other banks don't. We have $1.5 billion under management. You could have a job here. You could either be getting coffee or you could be running a book of business, whatever you make of it, but I'll give you a shot." And that was it. And I started out doing literally grunt work. And over the following 4 years there, I really built up myself, and I worked hard, and I leaned on the people there with expertise to teach me some of the things that were in that business. And I ultimately built the largest corporate litigation book in the United States. At the last NBA lockout, I had the largest book of loans to all the NBA players who needed financing during the time. And shortly thereafter, in 2013, I left. I started my own fund called Solely Capital with 2 partners. And a year ago, we started Yield Street. And the premise behind Yield Street is to create an investment platform where investors can identify opportunities that they typically can't get unless they're in a hedge fund. And they're what's called asset-based loans, which means that they have real collateral to back them up. that even if the economy isn't doing so well, we expect these investments to do well because there's collateral and there's something to hold on to. That the performance of these types of deals are not correlated to the markets, and they earn anywhere from 8 to 20%, and they earn anywhere from 8 to 20%, and they're usually less than 36 months in duration. The problem in the industry and the impetus for building the business was twofold. On the investor side, and Ted will tell you, you're always looking for different types of deals, but unless you're writing a really big check, you're not getting into hedge funds. People don't like to put them in a black hole and not know which deals they get into. And the hedge funds on the other side aren't going to spend time with investors who want to put $5,000, $50,000, $100,000 into a deal because they only have a certain amount of time in the day, and they're going to focus on the big money, the institutions, the ultra high net worth people. So you have tons of people like yourselves in a few years from now who are business owners, who are successful employees somewhere or entrepreneurs. You're making money, you want to invest it elsewhere, and you have very limited options. The stock market's incredibly volatile. Unless you're a professional investor today, it's very hard to make money in the stock market. The bond market is shot. Savings accounts do nothing for you. So where do you invest money? You end up maybe doing a deal with a friend who tells you, hey, I have this great deal, but you never really get the opportunity to invest with other asset managers who are the best in their business. There are businesses here that have been around for 10, 15 years that offer investors the opportunity to be a part of that. And we'll talk more about what it takes to build a great business in a minute. But I guess just you guys could by show of hands or just jump out there, how do you define what an entrepreneur is? What does an entrepreneur mean to you?
Starting a business with big risk.
Okay. Anybody else? It's like on the verge, just say it.
I don't know, it means a lot of things.
Okay. What is it?
What's said in the video? Innovation or something, or you gotta plug black hole or the holes in the system, and then you differentiate yourself by covering those holes.
Okay. Why is entrepreneurship interesting to you? You're all in this course, it's about entrepreneurship. What's exciting about it?
Not being a follower, leading the pack and pushing the envelope.
You can do that in a company, like you can get a group and have an innovative project to work on.
Having your say be the final say.
Okay.
It's kind of exciting knowing that you've got to get up, in a sense, every morning and push that through. You know, you're the one keeping yourself on your toes. You're the one at your own back.
Okay.
It's kind of like if it falls through, a lot of the times it's on you. That's what I find kind of exciting to be an entrepreneur.
Okay. There's a sense of responsibility that you have to be keenly aware of that as well, and accountability.
I think the mere fact that you'll be able to accomplish goals that you set out for yourself rather than working for somebody else.
Okay, that's one I definitely want to talk about. Anybody else? Okay. Does anybody here know what they want to do? Like over the next 5 years, have a good sense of what it is that you're going to do?
I would like to write music for artists, singers, rappers, and just music, writing music.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
How does it do it?
I mean, I presented it, but
okay.
Turning that into a diversified investment portfolio and retiring around 40.
Okay. Anybody else? All right. One interesting thing I think is interesting to say, and Ray is actually the one who always preaches it. In whatever community you grow up in, whether it's poor, wealthy, certain types of religion, New York, out of town, it doesn't make a difference. People often, and Tiffany mentioned it in an interesting way, you find yourself racing down the street and you're not sure why, right? People often basically kind of cave to what's around them and to the society around them. And they forget to appreciate that the successful entrepreneur is really always about believing in yourself and thinking outside the box and doing something a little bit different than everyone else did it. You don't have to follow the rules every time. Study it, understand it thoroughly. You could break the rules if it makes sense. You can always get out of whatever your situation is. You don't have to cave into it. I think that every one of us who have been successful have done that in one way or another. For some people it could be more difficult than for others, but ultimately you've seen successful people come from all walks of life, from every type of demographic, And I think always being keenly aware of your surroundings and making sure that you're not necessarily conforming in a negative way is something that's very important as an individual, but especially as a budding entrepreneur. So let's talk about this. I think that in order to be a successful entrepreneur, you need to spend a lot of time in introspection. You have to know who you are. You have to look into yourself. You have to understand what makes you tick, what do you like, what are you good at, what are you not good at. We're not good at everything. So are you an introvert, are you an extrovert? Are you good at customer interfacing businesses? Do you want to be in sales? Are you a qualitative thinker or are you more analytical? And I think that the way I do it, and I try to do it at least once a year, consciously and subconsciously, I do it all the time, is walk around with a notebook or with your iPhone for a few weeks. And during the day, think about what are the things that got you going that day? What are the things that annoyed you that day? Some people are great with minutia and little operating issues. Some people are terrible. I am terrible at it. I can't stand little minutia, but my partner is amazing. That's something we'll talk about after, finding the yin and the yang between what you're doing and making sure that your business has the balance and that you can do all that. You need to figure out, like I said, what it is that what are the characteristics within yourself that will help you be successful? You might have this great idea and it might be excellent. For example, your idea with the shredders, it could be great, but if you don't figure out how to properly scale that, how to stop taking all the phone calls, how to deal with customer issues, with shipping issues, if it doesn't get there on time. If that's something you're great at, then it's amazing. You can probably scale that and do great. If it's something you're not good at, then when that pressure comes and the customer is calling you about the $1 million machine that you sold him, and he's got piles of shredded material that he needs to get done, and you're sweating and stressing because you already spent half of your commission, that's not a business that's going to grow. So understanding that at the outset and really figuring out what it is that you're good at, what it is that you enjoy and that you're passionate at, that is the first step to figuring out what business you should go in and if you're going to be successful in that business, in my opinion. At the same time, while we're talking about an individual, I think that people have to really dedicate time sometimes when we're young. And I'm definitely not that much older than you. We forget and we run 1,000 miles an hour, and Ted's often the voice behind me who tells me to slow down. You need to enjoy life. You need to find outlets for yourself. You need to figure out what kind of hobbies you could do. For some people, it's running, it's exercising. For others, it's smoking a cigar. For others, it's going out, skydiving, whatever your thing is, figure it out and spend time doing it. And another thing I could tell you that I've experienced personally is charity. Figure out how to give back, but don't just do it haphazardly. Find something that you're passionate about, that you want to support, that you think you can make a difference of, whether it's time, money, or however it is that you could help out. But big misconception. People think that, oh, we're being so generous, we're giving charity. Do it for long enough and you'll find that it gives you back a lot more than you give them. It helps round out your character, it keeps you grounded, it makes you a better business person, it makes you a better person in general. But I think that while you're on that note, that's something that you always want to focus on. Once you figure that out, then know what's out there. Entrepreneurship is not for everybody. There's a lot of pitfalls in it, and everything that your business idea could be great, and everything you don't expect to go wrong is most probably going to go wrong. So figure out if that's the right move for you. Working for somebody else is not the end of the world. It depends what's important to you in life. For some people, they want everything in life. They want private jets, they want this, they want that. They have to go out on their own and figure out how to do it. For other people, they want to come home at 5:30, they want a nice family life, they don't want any stress, they want to pay their bills, they want to retire at 45. You can go be a teacher, you can make great money, you can do a lot of jobs, you can be an accountant, you can be a lawyer, you can work in corporate America. There's great benefits to doing that, but it's not for everyone. So once you spend time figuring out who you are as a person, what your strengths and weaknesses are, then I think you'll have a better sense and take into consideration what the other options are. You may have great talents, you might be a great project manager, you might think that because you have excellent ideas that you should start your own business, you might not be the greatest executioner. So if you can be in a role within a company, whether it's an innovative company like Google or a Yield Street who's trying to do cutting edge things, and you could be a project manager and have support from a team that's going to help you execute, that could be a much more rewarding career for you than going out and doing it on your own. And that's not to discourage anyone, but it's the truth. What does it take to build a successful business? What is a successful business? You say you want to retire at 40, how are you going to do that? What's the good, the bad, and the ugly of being an entrepreneur, right? So the first thing I'll tell you is, and not to sound too cliche, but do what you love. Don't do it for the money, right? We're all in business for the money. We all want to make money, so I don't mean it in that way. But if the business is good and the product is right, the money will come. It will sell. But if your passion's not there, you're not going to go the extra mile, and you're not going to build a successful business. You might make a couple bucks here and there, but it's not going to be an ultimately successful business. So whatever you're doing, just make sure that it's something that you're excited to talk about, that you eat, dream, sleep it. Because I know that I wake up in the middle of the night with an idea. When I'm in the shower, I come up with my ideas. Why? I don't know, but it's ingrained in me. So if you're doing something that you love, you're going to feel the same way about it. It's just, and if you don't, then come up with the next idea or wait for it to come. Warren Buffett actually said, if you guys ever have time, I strongly recommend reading his annual reports. They're amazing. But he had 29 quotes, like his greatest 29 quotes that they pulled out. And one of them is, if you don't have a good opportunity, just do nothing. You guys are in school, you don't have to rush to the idea. The idea isn't yelling at you, it's not screaming, and you don't love it, every part of it. Just wait, something else will come. You're in a point where you're in an innovative point of your life. You get to think, you have downtime, things like that. Wait till you find the right moment if you're set on being that entrepreneur. And my personal advice is, I would say, your first thing is not to be an entrepreneur. Start from the bottom, learn a business, understand how the operations work, how the sales work, how customer interface works, how the books work. How do you interact with lawyers, with accountants? Like, these are a lot of things that you have to know, and you don't want to get hit with it when you start your business and have a bunch of issues. You want to really learn it as much as you can from the ground up. There's a huge misconception in entrepreneurship. Everyone likes to say, I want to be my own boss. Do you really think you're your own boss?
No. Not initially, not right off the bat. Not initially, not right off the bat.
You're never your own boss, ever. No. You have customers you sell to. You have to answer to them. You have investors that support you. You have to answer to them. You have vendors and partners that you have to work with and for. You want to write music. You can't just shove your music down someone's throat. If he doesn't like it, he's not going to take it.
But that's more so like a partnership. That's not really, you're ahead of me, like we're on this level playing field.
This is not an ego game. It's not you're ahead of me or I'm ahead of you. You're accountable. You have a product, you're building a product so that you could sell it. You're selling music, you're selling shredders. You want to sell services on a luxury retreat, which, by the way, is a huge business and a budding business these days. And I think you should go for it. But you need to cater to all the people that are going to come. You have to answer to all the investors that are going to support you to build that multi-million-dollar treat. You have to figure out how to answer to everybody's dietary needs who are going to come. You have to figure out how you're going to sell your $1 million machines and how you're going to deal with shipment issues. And I have to figure out how I'm going to deal with the originators who are giving me the deals, the investors who are coming into the deals. I have to answer to my employees, right? I got to pay the bill no matter what. The business could be great one week and it could be terrible. You still have to pay your employees. You're not your own boss. You're making decisions, you're calling the shots, but you're accountable the entire way. Yeah.
What percentage of the deals fall through on Yield Street?
None. Because we're very careful at this time that I only put deals up that I know that the investor base likes. I study them hard. There aren't that many deals up at any given time because I want to know that whatever we're going to do, we're going to close. That's not true. One deal actually fell through.
What happens in the event that deal falls through?
In that particular deal, we raised the capital to close the deal, but last second there was an issue with the deal. We ultimately didn't do it. Investors got all their money back, and that was the end of the story. Which that'll bring me to another point. We could jump in it now. It sounds so obvious, but always be honest, no matter what. Good news, bad news, it doesn't make a difference, just say it. People will respect you for it either way. The last fund that I was at, right before I came there, they were the victim of a huge Ponzi scheme. And I've seen people try to sell us frauds all the time. When you're in this type of business and you have a reputation for financing things that typical banks don't, everybody comes out of the woodwork. All have the best idea. Every single one of them has gotten caught. When you're dealing on the other side with an enterprise that has no budget, no time horizon, and their only job is to find people, they will. So, as cliche as it sounds, live by it every day. How many of you know a self-made man? How many of you know?
A few.
Okay. How many do you know?
In what way do you mean self-made though? Like
Tell me.
mentally or just doing your
Financially,
business?
successful business.
Oh, okay, financially. I know a few.
Okay, anybody else?
No,
No, right?
No.
Why not?
because everybody is made by everybody who surrounds them.
Right. There's a quote that I always love. It's written by or said by George Burton Adams. He was in the 1850s to early 1900s. He was a big historian. He was also a professor at Yale. There is no such thing as a self-made man. We are made up of thousands of others. Everyone who has ever done a kind deed for us or spoken one word of encouragement to us has entered into the makeup of our character and our thoughts, as well as our successes. What that means is that every single person that you connect with, every time that someone refers you another account, every time that someone refers you to another investor, to another customer, to another vendor, that person is part of your success. When you start thinking you did it yourself, you're already going downhill. Cherish the relationships, build the relationships, find mentors, find people that can give you the advice that you need, can help you in the areas that you're weak. That's an important thing that I think I've learned and that you can never waver from. Every day I speak to who knows how many people on a weekly basis. There are people that I connect with that totally add tremendous value to the way you think of things, their perspective, etc. Compliance, for those of you that are going to go into businesses where there's regulatory issues and whatnot, never ever think that compliance is light or we'll get there when we have to. You always have to build your business from the beginning and suit it up right. The last thing that I'll talk about, just to give you a little bit of a good sense, is what does it take to build a successful business, right? So find products that people really need, solve a market issue. But nobody wants to work forever. So how do you build a business that is real enterprise value? How do you build a business that you're going to be able to have an exit from, that you can sell, that you can retire? You have to study the market that your industry that you're in. Understand what are the drivers of value. Why would a private equity company buy you out? Why would you be able to go IPO? How can you leave this business on for generations? How do you grow it? How do you have scalability in it? Right. So in my business, it's all about user growth. It's all about virality. It's all about creating intellectual property. It's all about solving the issue that 14 million accredited investors in America have, which is they don't know how to invest. Figure out where you want to be at the end of the road. You want to retire when you're 40? How are you going to do it? Work backwards. Understand what it takes to build those value drivers and start building them one by one. Nobody can do everything. Where you're weak, hire strong. Hire people that are smarter than you. Hire people that are as passionate. Don't ever hire someone who just wants a job. Make sure they believe in your vision and your dream, and they're going to be able to build this with you. That is. And then one thing I always like to say is everyone has this quote, "Nice guys finish last." What does that mean to you? You believe in it? So they do. But it's the right thing. The guys who you see coming up in the business doing things that are unethical, fast-moving guys, whatnot, they'll probably make a lot more money than you in a shorter period of time. But they'll be out of the game way before. Always do the right thing, even if sometimes it means that you have to take a little bit of a hit for it. Stand your ground. Don't let people walk over you. Be a person of principle, but still be the nice guy. You'll end up being in the race a lot longer. And the last thing I'll tell you is that recognize the opportunity you have here. Ted is standing in front of your room here once a week. He's a successful businessman. He's an investor. He's always looking for a new idea. If I were you, I would do nothing the entire semester but figure out how I'm going to convince Ted to invest in the business that you have. Because if you leave this class and you don't, if I had Ted as a professor, like I would be holding this guy's leg the entire class. I'd like sign up for it. Like if it was given him 4 days a week, I would be like there 4 days a week. Those are the types of relationships and opportunities that you have to always recognize that are in front of you and not miss out on them. Anybody have any questions?
Okay, so let's hear it for